And your hearing aids.
All right.
OK, that's it. They can go in.
All my hearing aids are in.
Right, is that everything? Do you want to take a towel? Last time I visited Oosterbeek, I picked up some of the earth from his grave and just put it in a little. It's just a little bit of earth, but it's a little bit of Dutch earth, which the dog's not going to get. A little bit of Dutch earth that I brought back with me. So I feel I've got a little bit of him, something close to him.
I thought, well, I'll just go once and I'll never go back again, because I couldn't. People said to me, why did you never go back? I said, well, what did we do? 4 years they were occupied by the terrible enemy. And what did we bring them? Death, destruction, starvation, all their homes wrecked, the cities wrecked. How could I go back to face these people? They'd never forgive me for what we'd not done.
This is a box of letters, photographs, and a photograph of my father in his full dress uniform, which doesn't look like the usual photograph, which is the one in the next room. And this box has all sorts of things. The scarf, which they wore round their necks, which were maps of Europe, so that if they were taken prisoner and needed to escape or managed to escape, that would be the best way of finding your way around, and nobody ever realised what they had round their necks. So they were folded like that and tied, and this was my father's. I don't know how it came back, but it's very precious, and Arnhem is shown on it. So there's France, Germany and Switzerland there, and this side is Holland, Belgium, France and Germany. So Arnhem will be somewhere here. I went when I was 30. That was the first time, and I'd got 3 children, and I'd got 3 very young children, so it was difficult to get away. But I went with a cousin, and it was quite informal, and we just went to his grave. And then after my husband died, I went back, and I went back quite often after that. And I find I get an enormous sense of comfort that his grave is so beautifully looked after. I have one memory of my father, and it was the summer that he died. We were living in a little cottage in Sussex, and he was obviously on leave, and he and I were sitting on a wall, and he was trying to teach me to say Humpty Dumpty, and getting very cross because I kept saying dumps, dumps, not Humpty Dumpty. And I remember looking up at his eyes, and they were blue, blue, blue eyes, beautiful blue eyes. And I looked down, and in the wall where we were sitting, there were some pansies, and they were blue, exactly the same as his eyes. And that vivid blue, and I remember that colour so well. It may be that's why I wear a lot of blue, I don't know, but That's the only memory I have, sadly, because that would have been in August 1944, and then by the end of September he was dead. Some underwear.
Yes.
Right, just what have you got?
Okay.
Oh, there's your airborne top. You need that one in. You need the airborne forces.
Now, I wouldn't come back to Arnhem. I said, I'm not going back to Arnhem. Too many bad memories. We were coming as saviours. We weren't saviours. We came and really messed up their place. Well, I thought, after having left there, and the debris and the rubbish and the dead bodies and the houses flattened, I thought they would hate us, because their town was a beautiful town before we came. But we wrecked it. We were responsible for it. I know the Germans had part of the doings, but I was blaming myself. I was thinking, why did we do it?
Heb je dan, hè? We zijn de vlaggen aan het ophangen voor de airborne herdenking. En deze herdenking die refereert aan de septemberdagen 1944, Operatie Market Garden. De brug bij Arnhem moest veroverd worden, dat is de laatste brug voordat ze naar Duitsland konden, de geallieerden. Alleen ja, dat is helaas mislukt. Mijn vader heeft gewoond aan de Rijnkade. Dus die zat ook hier in de huizen toen het werd gebombardeerd, zeg maar. Dus die zag aan de voorkant de Engelsen voorbij komen. In de achtertuin lagen de Duitsers. Dus ze hebben ook 2 nachten in de kelder gezeten. Dus vandaar, nou, het doet me altijd wel wat. Ja. Heel veel jonge Engelsen met name die zijn eigenlijk in de strijd omgekomen. De veteranen die er nog zijn of komen, of familie van, worden ook altijd nog als helden ontvangen hier in Arnhem. Ondanks dat de slag verloren is. Maar ze hebben natuurlijk wel heel veel inspanning gedaan om ons te bevrijden.
I wonder what had happened if there had been no wars, you know. The first time I moved out to Lancashire when I went in the army, because conditions were bad. I'd probably never been out to Lancashire.
Hello.
I'm just leaving.
Morning, Wolf.
Good morning, Dave.
All right.
I'll tell you.
Wolf. All right.
Morning. Thank you. I'll tell you all about it tomorrow. Manchester paid.
Manchester, 75.
Nobody spoke about the war because most of the people you work with was involved in it. And the years and years rolled by, and people said to me, do you know there's something goes on in Arnhem? And I said, well, no, I don't. I knew after a good number of years that there was some sort of pilgrimage. None of my family never knew anything about it. And it was only after going back to Holland as I started opening my mind and started telling her. Now, this was a friend of mine, and I never saw him for 45 years. And when we first met in Arnhem, it was, I think, with a bit of tears between us. And I miss him terribly. And this is a memento, as he had 2 sons. Well, he had 3 sons, but one's dead. And they brought me this as a present, which was very, very kind of them. my eldest daughter and me, the top two people on the photo, Peter and Maria Hackland, they're my horse family, and I've been for 26 or 7 years. And they're as wonderful a people as I've ever met in my life. I think there's nobody like them, and I love them as much as I love my own family.
Zo, nou Wilf, lievelingsbloemen nog even.
Wilf is voor ons heel belangrijk. Ja, wij zijn hier in deze streek geboren en getogen. Ik ben zelf van na de oorlog, maar ik ben natuurlijk opgegroeid met de verhalen van de oorlog. Arnhem was natuurlijk behoorlijk in puin na de oorlog. Je hebt het een heleboel zien bouwen. En dat heeft allemaal een plaats gekregen ook door de verhalen van onze ouders. Ja, Wilf is daar een onderdeel van. Door wat hij heeft meegemaakt, maakt het dat veel intensiever voor ons. Ja, dat is gewoon heel bijzonder geworden.
Havermout voor Wilf. En zo grappig, hij houdt van Nederlandse oranje marmelade. Vindt hij lekkerder als de Engelse.
Dat is hier ook. Zo hebben we hem ongeveer leren kennen. Toen was hij 8 of 69. Met de 45e herdenking, toen vroegen ze gastgezinnen. Want toen kwamen er nog heel veel mensen terug, veteranen, nabestaanden. En toen hebben we hem opgegeven als gastgezin. En toen wisten we niet wie we zouden krijgen. Dat werd allemaal toebedeeld. En toen kregen wij Wilf.
Het is wat joh, de 30ste keer dat hij komt. We zijn vergeten de kruiken boven te pakken voor Wilf. Zou je die even willen pakken? Super, dank je. Heerlijk. Hij kan weer komen.
This friendship between me and one family is one of the most wonderful things what's happened in my life.
I miss him. I miss my father greatly, because by not having a father, you miss that relationship, the father-daughter relationship, which I would have loved to have had. And the more I hear about him, the more I realise that how much I would have loved him, and how much fun we could have had together, and how very, very different my life would be. Because if he'd survived, he could very possibly, he was a career soldier, so he could very possibly have ended up very high up in the army. I would probably have married a soldier, and I sometimes feel that, you know, but for that sniper who killed him, my life would have been very different, and that was in a second, just like that.
In september 1944 wilden de geallieerden een grote sprong voorwaarts maken, een aantal bruggen innemen om daardoor makkelijker door te kunnen stoten naar Duitsland. En de verste brug was de brug van Arnhem. En daar was aan de Engelsen gezegd van nou, neem die brug in en hou hem een aantal dagen vast. En dan komt het leger, komt jullie helpen en dan kunnen we doorstoten. Maar goed, Arnhem hebben ze niet kunnen halen. Dus de Engelsen die hier gedropt waren en later nog geholpen door de Polen, moesten het loslaten, moesten zich terugtrekken, het restant. En eigenlijk hebben ze dus deze slag verloren.
When you're in a plane, when you're going over, you're with your mates, there's 20 of us, 10 on each side. You feel nothing can happen to me, we're invincible, we're all right, we'll all come back. And of course, as we came over Europe, the guns started opening up at us, and you could hear the shells hitting the aircraft. And of course, we were firing at so many gliders, big gliders, small gliders, and airplanes carrying troops. And even though that was happening, you didn't feel it was untoward because you were in a war and you were with your mates, so you were happy. It's afterwards that you start thinking, flippin' heck, I didn't fancy that.
Wilf is hier dus de volledige 10 dagen geweest. Begonnen hier in Renkum, teruggetrokken op Oosterbeek en de 10e dag terug naar Nijmegen.
This Battle of Arnhem, the airborne, it was a complete failure. If this battle had succeeded, the war could have been over by Christmas. Just that particular battle, what it did to the surrounding districts, the people, their homes smashed to smithereens. The first place my company went to was Renkum, and it was probably the first village to be liberated. And after 24 hours, we were cut off by a German force, and we got orders to pull back. And I thought, after the war, I thought, I wonder what the people of Renkum thought about just me, our company. We brought them freedom for 24 hours and then disappeared. They'll never forgive us. They'd want to lynch us if we ever went back.
This is the photograph of my father about 10 minutes before he died, which is him, if you can see, with his arm in a sling, his right arm in a sling, which was a piece of parachute, and using a German rifle with his left hand. And it was at this point that the doctor called him over to look at his shoulder and maybe dress it. And that was when he was shot by the sniper. You can see he's wearing his red beret, which they were all immensely proud of, but I think probably that's what killed him, because it showed up in the woods. The parachute jump into Arnhem was the first time he'd ever done it, because he was meant to be trained at Manchester at a place called Ringway, where they trained the parachutists, and the secretary of the Arnhem Society emailed me and said, where in the records is your father being trained at Ringway? And I remembered that he broke both his ankles in the run-up to the training when they were jumping off platforms and things. So with both ankles in plaster, there was no way he was going to go to Ringway. And then the Battle of Arnhem started. So him jumping out of plane on the 17th of September would have been his first jump. Now, I think that is amazingly brave into enemy territory, so to speak. And he was one of the first to go because he was the adjutant of the regiment, so he landed the day before. And I just don't know how he did it. You do it for the country, you do it for people who are being oppressed and bullied, but at the age of 28, I think that is quite remarkable.
When I landed at Arnhem, a lot of bangs and a lot of shooting, and in fact I was shot, but I couldn't move, so I was left. And when I gave my equipment to Corporal Carr and said, look, because I was in the signals, I had quite a lot of equipment on me. I gave it to him. I said, look, I can't move, I've been shot, it had damaged me. And he said, OK, off he went. So he left me on my own.
At Arnhem, I was convinced that none of us would ever get away from the battle. We were surrounded and surrounded, short of everything. And when I got to the sandbank, which was part of the Neder Rhine, there must have been 300 to 400 men waiting to be shipped across, and only one boat left to take us over. So I thought, well, we're either going to be killed here or took prisoner. There was a corporal, as I knew, and he said, do you think we could walk down the river and see if we could find anything to get across with? And I think about a dozen of us walked down, and we found a boat with 4 oars in. And one officer would have said, now, have any people, have you ever rowed a boat before? And I said, well, I've rowed one, which I was telling lies because I'd not. But I thought, now, if this boat gets sunk, or was shot at and sunk, at least I've got something to hold on to swim. Because it was suggested, this corporal and me, we swim across. Well, I were a decent swimmer, but in the dark it looked about a mile wide, and it was very, very, very flowing very fast. And we had to wade back in the river up to about our way, to where the escape was, so we could see the shells. And suddenly a voice said, come on lads, you're safe now. And that was a Canadian what was dug a trench, and he was guiding us over. And he said, well, you're in a mess, aren't you? No, I'm not had a wash of shave for nothing to eat. And so he said, sit down there and I'll fetch you a drink of tea. And I drank this tea, fell asleep again, and then we were gathered together and trucks took us to Nijmegen.
Nijmegen was intussen bevrijd, daar waren de Amerikanen en Canadezen, dus de geallieerden. Die zijn hier gekomen aan de overkant hier om de Engelsen op te pikken. En er zijn dus zo'n 2000 zijn er nog weer over de Rijn teruggezet. Ja, en hier bleef het land achter leeg en verwoest. En uiteindelijk moesten de mensen die hier nog woonden vertrekken en die gingen 9 maanden evacuatie tegemoet.
When I saw all the dead people, the people left in the streets as we went through to Appledon, people dying in the streets. And I felt awful.
Come in.
Hello there, Wilf. How are you?
Okay, thank you. This is my
keeping?
friend Chris.
Hi. You're looking well, anyhow. Are you all packed?
Yes, I'm packed, ready to go.
Smash
I'm
it.
itching to get in your car, but...
I met Wilf just before we were making the preparations to set off to Arnhem commemorations 2015, and I was walking round Bury Market. And I spotted a gentleman walking towards me who was wearing an airborne hat, who turned out to be Wilf, and we had a chat, and I found out he was an Arnhem veteran.
Right.
Have you heard from Peter and
No,
Maria?
I thought they might have rung me last night, but no.
Okay. When I grew up as a young boy, whenever the film Bridge Too Far came on, my dad would make us watch it, and he used to say, this is where our Stanley was killed. Lead the way. And when I and my 2 sisters left home and bought our first houses, he gave each one of us an old wartime sepia photograph of Stanley, and on the back a copy of the newspaper cutting saying he was killed in action in Arnhem. And that's all we really knew about Arnhem, and that we had a relative who died there. And then when my father died, I felt I needed to go to Arnhem to get a photograph of the grave to bring back, really, to give to my children.
Kiddo, let's get your jacket on.
Right.
Off we go.
Do I carry this out?
I'll bring it out for you. Just go and get in the car. And I'll bring those.
It happened to Stanley quite a long time ago, but the way it affects me is that I could have been Stanley and Stanley could have been me. It's only a generation apart. It was only a matter of a fluke of time, isn't it? I knew the Commonwealth War graves cemeteries were well kept, but I imagined it laid there without any visitors or any flowers or anything. And so the very first time I went for the commemoration in September, I was just absolutely astounded. And it brings many different things home to you about sacrifice and freedom and peace. And since then, I've been every year. I found it helped me to deal with difficulties and things that were happening to me. If you put it into perspective, you know, I've never had anybody trying to kill me. Whenever I've been in hospital, I'm surrounded by people who are trying their very best to look after me. But the veterans were completely different. They were really having to deal with very, very difficult circumstances, and you know, the enemy's objective was to kill them by whatever means. You've got everything, have you?
Oh,
dancing shoes.
First of all, I'll show my passport to you because you asked me, have you got?
That's it. That'll do. I've seen it. Right, grab your cap. Come this way, Will. And since I've met Wilf, my life has been enriched by spending time with him in many ways, not just to do with the battle. Right, off to Hull.
Mevrouw Estupiñán Sánchez uit Parijs Charles Dawson wordt verzocht zich te melden bij de luchthaven informatiebalie.
Well, we've been coming for quite a few years now, and the welcome is always absolutely astounding. It surprises us every year, and every year it's just wonderful. But this year, he wanted to do something special. Plus, he wanted to remember all his companions and all his friends that are not here to do it.
It's because of the memory of the lads that I was with. I think this will probably be the last one we'll do. So I'm kind of epitomising what they would love to do, because I'm still fit. I'm lucky. And I've still got hair.
I've brought these letters to donate to the museum, and they were written to my mother when he was missing and after he was killed. What I'm hoping is that when you've gone through the letters, you'll be able to fill in some gaps for me, because there are people in the army that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
So, and also some quite moving letters from friends.
Yeah.
And in them, when you are going through them, you need to be aware that my father knew me as Sally.
Okay.
So when they refer to Sally,
it's you.
It's me. Yes.
Okay.
Not some strange child.
Some unknown.
There's quite a few there. I think you've got...
It's an enormous collection. I have work to do, yeah.
Yeah, you have work to do, yes. This little notebook here, this I thought you'd like to see because it's my mother's handwriting.
Yeah. Is it some sort of a diary, or...?
I think it's a list of who to contact and things. I didn't know what the artefacts were, what there was.
Yeah.
It was just so moving, seeing stuff they'd found in his pockets and things.
Yeah.
And what they had of his was his a sort of pocket flap with CNB Dawson on it and things, and they'd actually taken that off his body. So I know that when I stand at that grave, my dad's there.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, you have all these silly doubts, and it's just lovely to know that he's safe. Yeah. And he is safe there.
Okay.
Peter and Maria's is just down here on the left, I think. I think Maria will be rather excited about it.
I bet she's wanting a carpenter.
Right. All is done. Go on, go on.
My beauty.
Oh, my goodness, the first horn this year. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Oh, it's good to see you. How are you?
Oh, yeah.
You're fine.
Fine, yes, thank you.
It's quite something, Wilf.
It is.
It is.
Peter, how are you? Are you well? Touch pacemakers.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Oh, what a journey, eh?
Yeah.
Oh,
Fine,
15 hours, my ears are nearly shattered.
Well, we walked it.
Everything went well? Everything well?
Oh, yes, thank you.
Okay. That's your luggage.
Well, I thought...
Apple pie inside, coffee, tea, everything. Come on.
So just...
Wilf, come on.
Yeah, just go on.
Come on. Well, it's amazing, but what a... Well, how was it at night?
No, like I did last year. Chris come and put the double bed up, the bed down, and two days. I thought, where are you? Please come to Rotterdam with that box. I come to Rotterdam.
You're more than welcome, Wilf. What a journey.
Well, it's well worth it.
Oh, yes. Oh, okay. Well, that's good to hear. Come on. Inside. Well, this is better at all, then.
Well, there's on the tunnel about 5 o'clock. I don't it's the first call. The tunnel, you know.
Yes.
But for some reason, I thought it's... Chris said they'll do tea. This is my Dutch spot. So, what's the next thing, Maria?
Well, you can be seated and we have a drink. What do you like? A cup of tea, coffee?
Another thing in common, we are both former soldiers and skydivers. So let's make the best out of this today.
I will.
Wij kunnen nooit bevroeden wat die mannen hebben meegemaakt. Je hoort de verhalen, je ziet de films, je ziet oude voertuigen weer terug. Maar dat kan je niet overbrengen hoe dat echt was. En dat is wat Wilf dus ook wel vertelt, met name als hij in schoolklassen komt. De angst, het geluid, de honger, de onzekerheid.
I'm Wilf, by the way. Hi, my friend.
Hi, Wilf. Lovely to see you. Watch the step.
What's the step?
Yeah,
Great
give us a hug.
you.
Lovely to see you.
Hi, everybody.
Hey. Come and have a seat.
Everyone here, this is their first visit to Arnhem, apart from one mum, but everyone else, it's their first time here. I'm so thrilled that they're able to meet you, and I think the children have got some questions.
What was it like fighting for your country, knowing that your life could be taken any second?
Well, the honest answer is it was very frightening, but you probably didn't have time to be frightened.
What were the most frightening bits for you of your 9 days here? Was it being in the slit trench and being shelled?
In the slit trench and being shelled and mortared, but we had been told that within 48 hours, the 21st Army Group, which was General Montgomery's army, would have no problems getting to us. And our biggest thoughts after 4 or 5 days was, where are they?
How many men did you come in with in your company, and how many came out at the end of the battle?
I'm not sure whether it was 125, and there was 23 of us got back to the UK.
Extraordinary numbers, that.
Before you left to go to Arnhem,
Yes.
did you think the operation would
Good question.
succeed?
So before you left England, did you have a sense that this was going to be a successful mission? Were you optimistic?
Yeah, we were certain. We went as conquering heroes, but the Dutch will be waiting for us, and within 2 days, it'll be all over.
Thank you for everything you've done to help us get where we are today.
No, I'm sorry.
She's saying she just wants to thank you for everything you did all those years ago, and that's a heartfelt thank you, not a question.
The Dutch people, especially Renkum, we give them freedom for 24 hours and then we're gone. And then when the battle was over, within a few hours, the Germans said, Arnhem and the 5 towns round here, you've got so many hours and you've got to get out. You help the British soldiers and they could just carry what they wanted. And so we brought death, starvation, the worst winter of the century. This battle, the real heroes, is not me. Go up to the cemetery, there's a white stone, and under there is lay a man, he's lay there for 73 years. And when they say he gave his life for his country, he had his life took off him. He had no choice. So to me, they're the real heroes. And we don't, and I'm one of the few what's here, I've not come here to show a few medals or show my red beret. I've come here to pay my respects to the people in the cemetery, and the Dutch people have showed all the courage in the world. And I find it's as emotional today as I did 45 years in that cemetery. Because I can go and see, I go and see one particular grave, and I knew him at school. And he was killed outright. And that's why I find it's, when I go through that gate, I get very emotional.
Well, it's beautiful weather, and we go to see Norman first.
Yeah.
Okay?
Rest in peace, Norman. First time I came here, and I stood there and thought to myself, I'd like to think that no man in the future would be able to come and stand there. In other words, there'd be no more wars. But even while we're talking, there's people in the world killing each other.
Well, we come, Wilf, every year. We also come to pay our respects to the living, to you, the veterans.
Well,
and actually, although you may not feel like a hero...
No, I don't.
To us, you are.
Yeah.
So can we give Wilf another...
Well, I'd like to thank you for listening. Thanks for listening to me. Thank you, boys. And your question was a wonderful question, and
Yeah, that was sweet.
always remember what I said about the graves up there. They're the real heroes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks, Michelle. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad I come now.
She said it's tradition, so I'll give you a kiss too.
Always getting better.
Because we have to prepare as well. We do need to wear gloves.
Right.
Then, this has his name on it, I presume.
Yes.
Can you see it?
Yes, look.
Oh yeah.
Is it there?
There it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's put it on the table.
Yeah.
And this his whistle.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yes. Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. And this is the famous picture.
Yes, that was taken by Jasper Booty.
Yeah.
Illegally.
Illegally.
Yes.
So
naughty man, but
very naughty man.
But thank goodness he did.
Yeah.
Oh yes, the parachute silk. There it is, on his arm. Now I know it's really him. Yeah.
It's very touching to see it also on the picture.
Yes. That's why I wanted to see it particularly, because it's absolutely, undoubtedly part of his. Amazing.
So we're airborne, Mr. Jeffries. Here we go. Here we go.
That's it. Oh, I'm even standing.
Good?
Yes, thank you. Hey.
How was that?
Oh, I needed that.
Mr. Jeffries.
Yes, I've never been feeling so much in my life. My ego is rising.
Een heel groot applaus voor John Jeffries.
Now I can hear what you say.
Well, you got very proud.
This is my getaway then, this.
Wilf betekent zoveel voor me. Hij zegt wel eens, luister naar je vader. En ik had een geweldige vader. Maar ik denk ook dat als Wilf er niet meer is, dat het voelt als iets heel, heel dierbaars wat er niet meer zal zijn. Ik moet er ook eigenlijk nog maar niet aan denken.
I was 2.5 when he died, and there's never a day gone by when I haven't thought about him. And It's a difficult standard to live up to. A very good-looking, glamorous war hero, and I've lived my life trying to be up to that standard almost, and be as brave, but I'm not. When we visited the cemetery, we picked up acorns, which I've planted, and I have 3 little trees about that big. Tying up a bit more. They're about 2 years old now, so they're growing into little trees, and this summer I'll give each one its own pot, but they came from Oosterbeek, and they're a little bit of Holland in Norwich. Yes, they're very special.
I got this yesterday from Holland. Yeah. We stay with these people. We're getting quite a lot of correspondence from Holland. Oh, they're so wonderful. And it's not a facade. It's not just... It's really earnest thanking us. Yes. And I think to myself, and yet we messed up their town terribly.
I've not told my family yet because we've decided this very recently that when I'm dead and my ashes are in the urn, I'd like a small portion of them to be took and put in the cemetery. Especially to one particular grave of the lad I knew as a schoolboy. And so I've got to tell them that before I die, and then they know what I want to do.